come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is Siddhartha Vaidyanathan at Sidvi on Twitter. And I'm joined today by the regular crew, Mahesh at Cornered, Ashoka at AB Van, and Kartikeya at Cricketing View. We are here today to talk about the India-Sri Lanka series that just finished, to review the two-test series. India emphatically winning 2-0. Matches in Mohali and Bangalore, and the series ended in 6 days, basically. So 3 days for Mohali and 3 days for Bangalore. We'll get to that. First, a couple of things. The last episode that we did about Shane Warne, I accidentally uploaded the raw file that was on there for 10 to 15 minutes. So those of you who downloaded that and listened to it, apologies. There was about 10 to 11 minutes of, just raw audio that was unedited. And so hopefully some of you went to another platform and heard it, or some of you refreshed and got the edited file. But yeah, apologies for that. There was like a factual error in the unedited version where we spoke about Shane Warne bowling to Brian Lara in Antigua in 1999. And then, of course, we later eventually realized that Shane Warne didn't even play that test. That was the famous test in which he was dropped for Stuart McGill. So anyway, that is all out and not there in the edited version, but thought I must clarify right here for those who were a bit confused with all that. Secondly, a few episodes back, we chatted with the esteemed Australian cricket writer Mike Coward. And there too, there was a bit of a discrepancy where Mike Coward had misremembered a meeting with Sachin Tendulkar. He said that Tendulkar was in Australia with the CCI team when he was 16 years old, and he remembered meeting him. But then Mike later went on to check his records and archive, and he realized that the meeting was actually in 1994 when Indian team with Tendulkar, Shastri, and a few other former players and current players had gone there to play a series of 3 games. So the meeting was in the Drummoyne Oval, by the way. So I guess that was the reason for Mike's confusion, because it was in a small ground. There was a bit of a felicitation for Tendulkar, and Mike thought it was before that. Anyway, so having got all that out of the way, let's get started with this series. Sri Lanka came to India having never won a test in India. They left India further away from having won a test than they ever had before, I think. That's how far they were from winning any of these 2 tests. They lost it in 6 days. India superior in all fronts: pace, spin, batting. And, it was hardly a contest at any point of time, though there were some good performances throughout. Guys, we can get started. Thoughts, impressions. Ashoka, of course, was there in Bangalore for the second test, so we'll get to that. But we also have to talk a bit about Mohali. But yeah, big picture. Mahesh?
Yeah, I think this Indian team at home with this sort of bowling attack is simply too good. And I mean, it's too good for any teams, and particularly for the Sri Lankan team, which is relatively inexperienced and doesn't have the most penetrative of bowling to exploit the conditions in India. I think there were some positives for Sri Lanka, to be honest. I thought the way Nissanka played in the first innings of Mohali test was very impressive. It's quite unfortunate that he couldn't play the second test. And of course, the captain Dimuth has been in fine form in recent times, and that continued. So those were pretty positive sort of signs for Sri Lanka. But otherwise, I think they played the wrong team as well first. I mean, they played like one seamer extra. But I don't think, all these are marginal things. Eventually, the bowling prowess of India was simply too much. And if anything, if there was a shortage of one more potent spinner that came through in the second test as well, with Akshar coming back, they were simply blown away.
Yeah, it boils it down also to the conditions, right? There is this belief, especially in the Anglosphere, where India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan / UAE are all clubbed together as Asia, performances in Asia. And of course, we have the famous or infamous Sena filter that also, starts clubbing together South Africa, England, New Zealand, and Australia. And on the reverse side, you start clubbing together Asia. But Sri Lanka have actually quite an impressive record in Pakistan and UAE when they travel. But their record in India is just absolutely woeful. And even these two teams, if you take like exact man-to-man, take these two teams and put them in a test match in Galle or, Colombo or wherever. I mean, I'm sure I would hope that it is a much closer contest, in terms of conditions. But in India, it's just like even their spinners, spinners as good as Embuldeniya are not able to get that rhythm going.
For Sri Lanka especially this Sri Lankan attack or this Sri Lankan team to compete in India, I think Bangalore was the correct kind of surface. That kind of, makes it a lottery for batsmen to get runs. Otherwise, if in pitches like Mohali, where you have to have sustained kind of pressure, the Sri Lankan attack falls short. And therefore, even then, I did not think that would be a 3-day test match, because there wasn't much help for the bowlers when Sri Lanka bowled. And I think Sri Lankan batsmen, after a point in time in the first test, they started, taking a lot more risks, especially the middle and the lower middle order, and lost wickets quicker than anticipated. They could have batted a little bit more. I don't think that was such a villainous pitch that the match had to end in 3 days. But Bangalore was a great opportunity for them. They could have actually, if both the pitches were that lethal and that unpredictable, Sri Lanka could have hoped for a win. And that is their best chance against this Indian team, because man to man, I think they are seriously, underpowered. They can't hope to win in India with this kind of a squad in a regular 4 or 5 day kind of surface.
Yeah, I was thinking, I've seen India play at home for 30 years now. And, I've seen really dominant Indian teams. India have traditionally been extremely good at home. It's very, very hard to win in India. But I don't think I have seen a team that has just been blowing away opposition at this rate. This was just like, I don't know. Even like maybe, the great West Indies team, when teams used to travel there, or, Australian teams when they used to just blank teams out. This was obliteration.
Indian conditions are so wide-ranging that it is traditionally it's been difficult for India to dominate that way, even when we had strong teams, because the conditions are simply far too different from each other. Just sheer geographical variety of conditions that they play under, which is not the case for West Indies or Australia. But what we have right now is the range of resources to match the range of conditions that we have. I was thinking about was it the Kanpur test, the first test against New Zealand, right? Where they were playing on a dead slow wicket.
Yeah,
and even on that wicket, like I can't imagine any other Indian team coming anywhere close to forcing a result. It's the kind of wicket where we would have complained that it's such a flat wicket. We should not be preparing wickets like this.
It's the kind of Jimmy Adams wicket.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
He would have batted for 2 days.
Yeah. And they still came so bloody close. And this Mohali test was pretty similar, actually. It was such a flat wicket. They had no business being so as penetrative as they were. And in fact, even when Nissanka and Angelo were batting, they were looking quite comfortable. 90 odd for 3. And to get all out for 170 from there, it just, the test opens up. And the way Bumrah bowled in that test, it is just ridiculous. That spell that he bowled when there was nothing in the wicket for him. He brings out the slower ball. He bowls him off a no ball with a beauty of a slower ball. And then that whole spell where he was going for a Yorker and slower ball, and he had such immense control over the slower ball. This versatility of skills in the bowling department is peerless. It's peerless, I'm saying, like not just with Indian teams of the past, but pretty much any team of any home team anywhere in the world.
And look where your point of release is for an opposition batting lineup. There is simply zero release of pressure, because we will talk about Bumrah, we will talk about Ashwin, Jadeja, Akshar and all that. But Shami comes in and bowls the ball of the series, gets one to hold its length and then take the edge. And then again, the next innings, he comes and clean bowls the best batsman. So there is absolutely no release. And therefore, and also there is a skill gap, right? Like the Sri Lankan batters are not, the most experienced batting lineup in the world, save Angelo Matthews and Karunaratne. And they didn't play Chandimal for some reason. So that is another question mark. So given all that, the only option for them and the most logical option for them is to play their shots. And if you take risks against this bowling lineup, you are going to lose wickets. But even accounting for that, this was like crazy amount of wickets that they lost over like two tests at a crazy rate.
I mean, the sign of a bowling lineup is all that you need to say about the bowling lineup is Umesh Yadav and Mohammad Siraj cannot even make the 11. I mean, these are two bowlers who, in these conditions, will walk into any team anytime. They can't even make the 11. So, that tells you all that you need to say. Yeah, Kartikeya. Sorry, you've not brought you in so far. But yes, summing up, any thoughts, overall, big picture thoughts?
Nobody has come to India since 2013 and won. I mean, here's one
England has won one test and Australia has won one test. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But they've lost it's not even as though nobody's even gone away without losing a series. They've all lost series. But here's a stat, right? I think from 2015 onwards, in a test in which India batted 100 overs in one innings. Okay, if one of India's innings has lasted 100 overs, they won 40 and lost 2 test matches. That just the depth of the bowling in both spin and pace means that there's a very sort of narrow range of conditions in which India is outmatched, and it's usually outmatched by extremely eccentric conditions for pace or for spin, such that if the opposition has 4 fast bowlers who are especially tall and suited to those conditions, then they can outbowl India. But other than that, there are no conditions in which India are not competitive. And the thing is, in India, when visiting teams come, there are not that many test squads in the world I can think of in any era at any time who can match that kind of bowling depth. So it's not surprising. And the thing with bowling depth is that, you see, there's nowhere for opponents to hide. They can't even play out draws because that's basically out off the table. They have to. It's a shootout. They have to outgun India, and they can't. Ashwin, Jadeja, Umesh Yadav, Mohammad Shami, and now Jasprit Bumrah has played his 4th test match in India, and he already has he averages 15 in India now. So, I mean, it's
one of them was played on a road in Chennai.
Yeah, one of them was. I mean, that is true. There will be a road from time to time, but even on those roads, opposition bowlers don't have any way to, take 20 Indian wickets. No, I mean that is really the I think one underrated thing about this Indian side is the sort of the extent to which Ashwin and Jadeja give India depth in India. Which is you have 2 of your bowling spearheads who are also capable of a test 100 if needed. That's just an incredible depth. It eases things up so much on the other 9 positions that India can afford to play like both Iyer and Pant and a lot of other players who take chances. So in India, being 200 for 5 is no big deal. You can expect that to get to like 400 easily. Because of a combination of the quality of India's lower order and the limited depth which is available to opposing bowling attacks. The one bowling attack which I think will threaten India, and the one which has admittedly come closest to beating India in India, is Australia. And if Swepson is actually good, and he looks like he's really good, that would be a great series, I think.
Yeah, and we don't have to wait too long. I mean, I think Australia going to be coming at the beginning of next year. So it promises to be a good series, especially because Australia would have played in Pakistan and also Sri Lanka, I think, before that. So it will be interesting to see the development of Swepson and the rest of the attack as well. Cummins recently captain. Talking about Bumrah, you said he played the 4th test, right? So the first 2 tests that he played was basically, I mean, I'm just saying that when India went to West Indies in 2019, which was basically, I think, Bumrah's like the peakest of the peak. I mean, there have been many peaks, but I think that is the peakest of the peak. He played those 2 tests, he averaged 9.23. In this series against Sri Lanka at home, he averages 9. So, I mean, what is this? Like 9 and 9.23 for a bowler in a series is just, I don't even know what to call it. It's like freakish to an extent of this is like some late 1800s English bowlers who used to come and take wickets at this rate and all that. It's like taking test cricket into a different zone altogether.
And both are not seen as some sort of a fast bowler's paradise. I think the big difference for him in West Indies was the Duke's ball, and he got it to swing so prodigiously. And that's another thing that I noticed. Like the moment he got the pink ball, he was able to swing it consistently. But somehow with the red ball, he doesn't swing it as much. But with the Duke's ball, he was doing it consistently. So I don't understand how the dynamics works. But when he gets the ball to swing, it's like even by Bumrah standards, he just steps up to a whole new level.
I think slightly controversial opinion that 2 for 36 is like more magical to me. I saw the Bangalore whole thing live, but the 2 for 36 is some majestic bowling. I think at that point in time, nothing much was happening, as Conrad was saying. So, the bold of that was unfortunate that he got a wicket of a no ball. I mean, that spell was something else. I was like, what the hell is happening?
Oh yeah, it's one of those standard Bumrah things, right? I mean, in fact, I was thinking exactly about the West Indies series where he wasn't so much as bowling in a test match as kind of showing off his just sheer virtuosity in those 2 tests. It seemed a bit like that, where he got those, relatively, I mean, not relatively, it was an absolute flat pitch when he was bowling, and then there was no help whatsoever. And the most amazing thing for me about Bumrah is not so much as the fact that he is able to bowl a good slow ball every now and then, but it's just that every time he wants to bowl one, he gets it right pretty much on the first attempt. How is that even possible? And it's not like you're playing a T20 or a one-day tournament where you regularly use it. He just comes into the middle of a test. He sees a flat wicket or probably a situation where things are not working out. And he bowls these extremely crafty slow balls. And, there were 2 slow balls in that test, right? One in which he got a wicket of a no ball, and then another one in which he got a wicket of a legitimate ball. Now, the first one itself was pretty hard because I think Nissanka was playing pretty well, and he was not able to get him through, right? He tried a few Yorkers. He was not able to get through him. And eventually he got one through, and it didn't, I mean, because of no ball, it was not out. Then even to Sri Lanka, when he bowled, it was just a strange conception. I don't know what's it with him, like to think of things where the margins are so tight, so small. It's like a self-challenge, I want to go around the wicket. I want to bowl from this angle. I keep the possible angle through which I can get a wicket to the bare minimum, and I still back myself to go ahead and execute it. It is just ridiculous. The sheer consistency with which he's able to do this is, I mean, let's say there have been slow ball specialists, right? Like if you think of, what's his name, Ian Harvey, right? Like from Australia and whatever. There are some bowlers who have exceptional slow balls.
Franklin Stephenson, yeah.
But you don't get like someone like a Megra or a Cummins to still be able to do this. And to do this so consistently with such precision. And to do that on a flat wicket when nothing was working for you, and to do it like quite a few times. In fact, in that spell, he bowled 3 or 4 slower balls. All of them were spot on, so precise and controlled. I cannot marvel at this guy enough. I know I keep talking about this guy, and I don't know. A part of me is still not able to accept the fact that India has found a fast bowler with such immense skill, and it is logical. I mean, I've spoken about this before as well. It is logical, right? Once you have a couple, you're going to have a Srinath. Once you have a Srinath, you're going to have a Zahir. Once you have a Zahir, you're going to logically have a Shami. But even with this sort of, development ahead of him, I still can't make sense of Bumrah. It seems like he came out of nowhere. It's not like he's a continuum in this. I still feel like it's sort of an undeserved largesse that Indian cricket has got through Bumrah, which I don't know. I'm just going to be in this phase of what do you call not being able to relate to this till he's going to probably get 400 wickets, I guess.
Yeah, and the thing is that
by the way, do you know who saw Bumrah live bowling in a test match?
in a day-night test, that
where he took 5 wickets.
The thing is, firstly, of course, the thing is that Bumrah is like trick shot, right? I mean, he has mastered ways to. He's like this trick shot artist that we've spoken about. But secondly, the answer to your question, Mahesh, how does he bowl the slow ball so consistently and get it away? Is Mumbai Indians and IPL. I mean, I don't know. This is like the most obvious answer. Why are you even asking this question?
No, I mean, Sidhu wants to give credit to Rohit Sharma's extraordinary captaincy, so I would take it.
Let me just sort of say I was joking because, for those who think I was serious, the bowling a slower ball in a T20 game and bowling a slow ball in a test match are vastly different, because in a test match, your focus is like in a T20, it is restriction. Your focus very often is restriction. And so in that, you're trying to deceive a batsman by bowling the slower ball as the wicket-taking option. But in test cricket, that is, the focus and the priorities are different. So it is quite a challenge. Yeah, Karthikeya.
It's an even bigger challenge. It's not even comparable. It's not even on the same planet. In a T20, you're bowling only 4 overs. You're bowling 2 overs spell. 2 overs is not a spell. That's like just the bare minimum required to have plural number of overs.
No, and also the batsman is looking to in T20, a batsman is looking to hit every ball. So the slower ball is
options are what? To have 5 fielders on the boundary or 4 fielders on the boundary. Those are the only 2 options. That's not bowling, man. That's not even fucking cricket. Sorry. That's T20. That's T20. It's different. It has nothing to do with test match cricket.
Let us come to test cricket then.
Bumrah, in test cricket, you bowl all day, and then in the last session of the day, in your 3rd or 4th spell, you still land everything you want perfectly. That is master. That is the hardest thing in sport that I can think of. There's no other skill which combines brains, endurance, power, concentration, in such a complete package. The thing about the Pat Cummins, Jasprit Bumrah, Dale Steyn, that level of bowler is that they can decide to do something and actually do it every single time. Not just roughly do it, but actually do it. It means that when they bowl a Yorker, it's not a half volley. 90% of the time, it's not a half volley. There are other bowlers who bowl a Yorker, and about half the time it's a half volley, and that's a huge difference in class. Between those bowlers, and it's a really, really, really remarkable skill, and it's very hard to observe, and it's almost never it's just not observed at all. Most of the time, it's just you just and it's only observed when something spectacular happens. Like when Bumrah gets a ball to wickedly swing in or wickedly swing away, or he gets this lift off a good length. But those are just the magic balls. But that's not what makes Bumrah. What makes Bumrah is that ball after ball after ball after ball, he gives the batsman nothing. It's like you can see it in his bowling. When rare occasions he'll drift on the pads and it will go to fine leg, and you can just see him. He just turns on his heel and walks back I got that wrong, and he knows it. You see it also in the way he appeals for his LBWs. He knows exactly when the ball is pitched outside leg stump. He knows exactly when the ball is pitched within the width of the stumps. That's like a surgeon's precision. It's not like he's not muscle. He's like a high-tech missile, man.
KD,
That's
you're so moved by Bumrah. You're talking body language now, KD. Now we have reached a different level.
No, I'm not talking body language.
I mean, you're saying you can see how angry it is. No, that is how normal folks like us talk, not rationalists like you.
No, but he does. No,
He does.
He talks around. He
No,
knows
and
exactly.
the one point I wanted to make about Bumrah, one point I quickly want to make is that, the thing is, if you see this series and if you think of the South Africa series, if you go back and see the South Africa series, you have this illusion that Bumrah bowled poorly there and bowled well here. But that is, the thing is, the levels are so escalated that this is spectacular and that is very good. And so that is the comparison you're making. You're not making a comparison between bad and good, but between very good and spectacular.
I mean, I think Bumrah's returns in the 2021-22 series in South Africa are still, I think, for a wicket tally and average combination, they're still the best by an Indian fast bowler overseas. In South Africa. So if that's his bad performance, then that gladly will take it every time.
Ashoka, now that you were actually there, I was there. Please describe watching Bumrah live, day-night test, everything. Yeah.
First of all, it was day-night. India were batting, so I was hoping for a 400, 440 kind of score. So when they got out and Bumrah was bowling, still at that point in time, I was thinking, okay, these guys will get like a couple of overs because Axar is back. And the last time we played day-night, Axar kind of steamrolled opposition. So they'll anyways throw the ball to spinners after 2 overs, pre-functionary 2 overs. So India plays 59 overs in the first innings, right? Like 59, 60 overs, and Sri Lanka play 30 overs. So, this guy comes and bowls, and suddenly there is swing. Like the ball is swinging, the ball is moving, and Tirumanne has no clue what to do. Karunaratne is holding on. Basically, he's holding on.
And I think in the first innings they opened with Kusal, right? Kusal Mendes.
Yeah,
they promoted him.
Kusal also. Kusal gets out, and then Tirumanne gets out, and then these three people have no idea basically what's going on. It's as if there is a different test match that has started in the evening. You should watch it live because the crowds were now the brain dead crowds which were chanting RCB for the last 3 hours and was making my BP shoot up to 300 were now properly chanting Bumrah. And that is the first point. I was like, okay, now we are at the same level watching a test match. Till then, I don't know what these guys were watching because they were shouting RCB randomly. When Rishabh Pant hit, when Shreyas Iyer hit, these guys were chanting RCB. And there was that idiot DJ who was playing music. I don't know what he was playing, why he was necessary in the first place for a test match. So all that minor grievances aside, this was a proper spell that I got to watch. And I have to say, Angelo played both Shami and Bumrah very well in the first innings. I thought that day, even accounting for that chancy Shreyas Iyer innings, that guy actually had the measure of these two guys to the extent possible. He was beaten, sure, but he played very, very well. But what I remember was Bumrah running in and there were like chants of Bumrah and it was a proper, gladiatorial experience.
And you were behind him, right?
I was, in the end stand, and not stand. So I was right over the side screen watching and he was running away from our end. So I could see him bowling to the batsman. So that was a proper view that I got for at least his first 2 spells.
So you would have got to see the swing quite from that angle.
Yeah.
The thing is that, I mean, we spoke about it in the Shane Warne episode as well, right? I mean, with spin, it enhances your sort of viewing ability so much when you can watch the replay on TV in high definition and slow motion. But with pace, when you're at the ground, the feel that you get for pace and the way in which you see the batsman reacting, that is an altogether different order of appreciation you get, right?
Yeah, but with Bumrah, it's a slightly different case, no? Because he doesn't have that long run-up. There is no anticipation that builds through this guy's run-up. He just walks like 10 paces and then skips like 3-4 paces and then bowls.
It's not like Shami. Shami has that. Yeah.
Shami has that. Shoaib used to have that. So when you watch those guys live, it was like a procession, right? Like when they run and then you start cheering and the ball is delivered and then the event occurs and whatnot. So with this guy, it's all too sudden. He looks like he's just walking towards the crease. And then all of a sudden he's there and with his action, he just bowls. And you are thrown off as an audience as the batsman as well. So it was a unique experience watching this guy bowl.
And on top of that, he was bowling off spinners. That ball that got Angelo, I think, right? Yeah. Which
Angelo
basically
was a leg cutter. No, it left him.
Leg cutter. Sorry. Yeah. What I'm saying is he's bowling fastish spinners on top of all this that he has.
Yeah, he was basically unplayable. I mean, they didn't have a clue. I mean, Sri Lankans thought that India will pretty much switch to spin very quickly. They opened with Kusal Mendis, and then this guy practically blew them away that evening.
Okay, just a sort of a digression, but connected to this. You said, by the way, to our listeners, I'm from Bangalore. I'm not defending my crowd by any means. But when the IPL came along, one of the themes that were doing the rounds is how the IPL will be the gateway drug for young people to sort of then come into cricket and then appreciate other formats of the game. But what you said is exactly that, right? I mean, they came in, they started chanting RCB, and then they watched Bumrah bowl in a test match. So
my grievances are just my grievances. Like in a test match,
I'm very, very glad that you're admitting that the crowd in the little hill station was not watching Test cricket before 2008.
The problem with this is the opposite. It's not like the IPL has created new Test cricket fans. It's basically corrupted the existing Test cricket fans. Like if you remember the Ranji Trophy semi-final between
Pujara,
Saurashtra and Karnataka a few years back. When Pujara was given, I think he edged a ball and he didn't walk. I mean, it was quite a controversial thing.
When Pujara didn't walk.
Yeah. Even then, there were a bunch of few guys in the stands and they were still chanting RCB. So, now don't tell me IPL has converted cricket fans into Ranji fans. No. These are people who are going to Ranji Trophy before. These are people who are going to test matches before. It's just that they've gone so berserk that they think shouting RCB in the ground is some sense of, I don't know, showing loyalty or whatever.
But there is credit to what you're saying, Sidney. So there is credit to what you're saying in that what me and two other friends of mine were watching the match, and one of them is a Bangalore native and he has seen matches quite a lot in the stadium. He pointed out that a lot of these kids look like they are first-time cricket watchers, or first-time test watchers, not cricket watchers. They are first-time test watchers. So, and there were a lot of young kids as well, and the stadium was full because the last minute government said, okay, 100% occupancy, we'll allow it. So all those are positive signs. It is just because I have this way of watching cricket where if I watch it on my laptop or my TV, I can actually, tune out other things and just watch that. In a stadium, you get a great view of what's happening with the field and all that. But this DJ playing so loud, I mean, to the detriment of the viewer's experience, right? Because when there are DRS reviews, right? You guys, I think people on TV can hear what the third umpire is talking. Apparently, the people on the ground should also be able to hear that. But this idiot plays this dig heartbeat sound so loudly that it drowns out the sound of that umpire. So we are not able to hear. It pitches in line, it hits what and whatnot. We are just able to see the thing on TV and make up our own mind. So there is, I mean, you can play DJ or do whatever, but you are ruining. At least you should have some kind of cricket appreciation as a person who's doing the job to not ruin someone's experience. So those are the only legal sides.
Cricket is dead. No, let it die. Why play DJ and make it alive? Just let it die peacefully, man. Just let us enjoy the match for what it is. See, the thing about Indian stadium experience is that for people who grew up watching, let's say in the 80s, 90s, and probably in 2000s as well, early 2000s, it was there are many things wrong about Indian cricket watching experience. There is just, especially, the time that we started watching, the toilets were not clean. Even the seats were not clean. And for the money that you pay, it's not a very easy experience. In fact, you stand no matter how much crowd is there, you're always in the queue, perennially in queue for everything, And KCA is particularly bad because I have missed quite a few sessions of play because of going out for lunch and coming back in, no extra breaks. But the queue is so long. Despite all that, it is still a very redeeming experience because of the community experience that you have. when you allow people to bring all their paraphernalia in, it is such a festive atmosphere that there is no match for it anywhere in the world. I mean, I would love to. I love going around the world and watching cricket matches from different parts of the world. I can tell you that as bad as the Indian cricket experiences, the live experiences, the crowd kind of is the biggest redeeming factor. Now you suppress all that. You don't let them have any space. You just cramp them in like smaller and smaller spaces. You don't let them take anything inside. No whistles, no big sort of dholaks, no big drums, no big sticks, nothing. In fact, like even bottles, water bottles, you used to use the water bottle cap to make that big sort of sound in Chennai, for instance. You don't allow all that. And then you have this DJ playing all this time. Like, that's like, that makes absolutely no sense.
What is this? This IPL is like become a menace, man. Everything, just because the IPL is there, everything is attributed to the IPL. Batsman hits a 6, IPL. Batsman play a long innings. Now, see, new talent coming because of the IPL. Public in the stands, apparently IPL. Everything is IPL. How it cannot be the case, man.
Okay, Karthikeya, I agree with you in terms of this batting, bowling, in terms of cricket. Yes, IPL gets a needlessly large amount of credit for many things. But in terms of the fans, I'm willing to give that bit of allowance because young people were going to test matches before, but that is not necessarily true. Young people are not necessarily going to test matches now. And if the IPL has even a small effect, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the IPL helping more people watch different forms of cricket. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. One thing, though, that I have a problem with is that the DJ, who is part of the stadium, giving the stadium experience, should also understand the rhythm of Test cricket and should understand that there are things that audiences come for to watch in Test cricket, which is not necessarily what they come for to watch in T20. So when there is like a third umpire decision, or when there is a phase of play where, you expect a certain kind of concentration, you need to follow that rhythm. So I will fault the DJ for that, but not necessarily the spectators. Let us get back to cricket. Ravindra Jadeja in Mohali. I mean, what a performance that was. That was like Botham-esque in its execution. I mean, 5 wickets, 175. He just did everything.
What's happened to his batting? Yeah? He appears in more control. He plays these long innings. All that is fine. But why doesn't he mistime any balls? What's it with his bat?
Yeah, I'll tell you a stat. Okay, from the last time Sri Lanka came here, which is in 2017. I just took that date because last time Sri Lanka came here and thematically fits into the pot. Actually, you can go back to 2016 even. His batting average till that point was 29. His bowling average was 23. Right, 850s while batting, some 9 fifers and 1 10-fer. That is what it is. So till 2017. After 2017, he has like 200s and 1750s. In that period from 2017 to 2022, that is till date, his average in that period has not dropped below 40 for a number 7 batsman. That is insane. A. B, maybe his bowling suffered a little bit because it has gone in that period. I think from 23, it has gone to 25.9. 26-ish, but that is the minimal amount of skill transfer for a third or a fourth bowler that he is in this team, that he has sacrificed a little bit, you can say, for his batting to grow that drastically. And even that is not a sacrifice even, because that is a combination of multiple factors. He was injured, so he didn't play. When he came back, he might not have been 100%. He didn't play Holmes continuously, and then Aksar was introduced, so that screws up your dynamic of how they use you. But all things considered, he has lost very, very little in his bowling while gaining so much in his batting. From 29, you go into a phase of 4 or 5 years where your batting never goes under 40. That is like insane for a number 7 batter.
I mean, India in Mohali went from 175 for 4 to 574 for 8 declared, man. I mean, what kind of a lower order talent is this to go from that? I mean, which team in the world, honestly, which team in the world today can go from 175 for 4 to 574 for 8 declared? I mean, very, very, very few. And this is just like, that was stunning.
He's batting better is fine. But what I don't understand is, like, how can you become a better timer of the ball, like in the middle of your career? Like, doesn't he miss time or what? His bat looks so beautiful. I want to have that bat. I mean, there's some magic in that bat. He rarely mistimes the ball. And even when he's going for the big slogs, he's able to time it so well. It's just a purple patch in his batting, I think, where everything is just kind of fallen together. But it is. I mean, I can't think of another batsman, to be honest, where the sense of touch and timing has improved so much, like from the middle of his career. Like, it used to take a lot of effort for him to hit. Now he's so effortless, and he's doing that across formats. I mean, it's not like in Test cricket he's timing the ball, and in T20 he's just looking ungainly and slogging. I don't know how it works, but he's just discovered this within himself, I guess.
He's discovered the batsman within him.
Somewhat controversially and somewhat counterintuitively, I'm going to point out that a lot of Jadeja's batting success is because he's batting in a much stronger Indian batting lineup. Okay, so if you look at it, in the last 4 years, 53% of his runs have been scored after India scored 300. India already had 300 on the board. Now, keep in mind what I said earlier about, how well India do when they bat 100 overs in an innings in tests, right? So that's usually, if by the time they've got 300 on the board, India are well ahead in the test match, and opponents are having to defend runs. And the thing is, you see, in his early years, like for example, up to like 2017, in his first 1,000 runs, about 63% of his runs were scored within India's first 300 runs. In 2019, he made 440 runs. 72% of them came after India had already got 300 on the board. And it's been the same for 2018, it was 60%. 2017, it was 67%. 2019, 72%. 2022, 74%. And 2020, he made only 82 runs, and that most of them came within the first 300 runs. So it is because India's bowling makes India's batting go so much further that opponents don't have as many runs to play with, and they have to defend runs a lot, and that really helps the lower order score a lot of runs. And it helps. I mean, and of course, you have to see. I mean, you look at Jadeja's age. He's in the last 2-3 years, he's like entered his prime as a international player. He's hovering around that 30 age. So he's got like a whole decade of experience now, and he's in his prime basically. So that's the other reason why. I mean, he's basically at his peak.
Jadeja has been playing cricket from 2008, man. So it's almost like 14 years into. Okay, international test debut might be much later.
2012, no? Test debut.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
has
10
also
years.
been like 2-3 years old, right? It's not like you're talking about now. You're talking about a phase.
Yeah. Overall, he out of his 2,396 runs, he's made about 1,200 runs after India have got 300 on the board. So about half over the course of his career. And in recent years, it's closer to 60%. So, I mean, I know it is not something you would expect, especially in the bowling era, but he does. He does. He's very, very good at taking a good position and turning it into an impregnable one, because basically he's such a great percentage batsman. Jadeja is. Our friend Daniel Norcross, he always says, Jadeja is good at everything. Batting, bowling, fielding, he's just good at it. And that's what it really means. He knows what the competition requires at that point in time. So if India need to kill the scoring, he'll rush through 7 or 8 overs for 10 runs. And he can do that if he wants to. If India need like a batsman to hold one end up for an hour, he'll do that, and he'll make like 10 runs in that hour, but he'll do that. If they need someone to go hard for 10 overs or 5 overs, he'll do that. He may get out, but he'll try it, and then he'll make 20, 30 runs in those 5 overs. He's very good at playing percentages, and he's very good at playing, playing to the needs of the competition. He's not a Pant or Sehwag type player. And
he understands the state of the match very well. Yeah.
And he, not just that, I think they also understand it. It's just that he chooses to respond to it, and he's able to respond to it. That's a real.
He has the skill to respond to it. Yeah. That's a great talent. I was talking about the bit about number 7. It's interesting because I recently received a message from Prashant DP, again, one of our listeners and fabulous writer on the game. He tweets at Prashant DP tweet. Okay. So he said that, one exception to the rule of this bowling era is if you look at the averages, the top 5-6 averages have definitely dropped over the years, but the number 7 average has pretty much been consistent, even in this, if you take this chunk a few years and if you take that. So I haven't really checked the numbers. You can at some point, but it's an interesting observation. Also, the other point I made about 175 to 570, I mean, the one team that I can see doing it apart from India is New Zealand, because they also have like a formidable lower order with Jamieson and the Grandhomme and all that. Anyway, the bowling, Jadeja's bowling, one point I wanted to make is it was interesting to see the contrast between how he was approaching in Mohali, how he was bowling compared to, say, Embuldinia. Embuldinia, vastly different bowlers. And Murali Karthik was, of course, Murali Karthik has become like a left-arm spin specialist on air now. Whenever a left-arm spinner bowls, I think Murali Karthik has to be on air. So he was sort of talking about their different styles and how the round arm versus the Embuldinia's more round-armish action versus Jadeja's more thing. And of course, then Aksar was there in Bangalore. So it was interesting to see, but it was also interesting to see how vastly superior Jadeja used the conditions to, say, an Embuldinia, who is a very good bowler, by the way. Let me not discount that. And in Sri Lanka, Embuldinia is a serious threat. But in these conditions, it shows what you need, to adapt to this.
For what it's worth, I'm not dissing Jadeja here. I'm just saying Jadeja has a great advantage of a platform of being part of that extraordinary bowling attack. That if you push Jadeja to the other side and Embuldinia to this side, Embuldinia would look pretty much as impressive, perhaps slightly less so. So I don't want to cut down Jadeja here, but the point is that to look at the Indian bowling lineup, the combined threat makes each of them better than what they would be individually.
It's like what we spoke about with the Vaughan and McGrath, right? With the Australian attack of that time. Had Vaughan been English, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. It has slightly different dynamics. You're going to take more wickets, but you're also going to be more defensive and so on. Like Bumrah is still going to be a great bowler. Ashwin is still going to be a great bowler. Jadeja is still going to be a great all-rounder. Shami is still going to be a great bowler. But their efficacy as a unit together is a different ballpark altogether.
You think Ashwin is going to be the same bowler even if he doesn't have the Indian pace attack to precede him?
Yeah,
right.
He would be a great bowler.
He was right. He existed before Bumrah debut, right?
But Umesh and Shami have been playing, right? Whenever he has been playing.
Yeah. But he was as effective, right? Now the complaint is that these guys are eating into his quota. Now, that is the problem. Like a Bumrah Pfeiffer, delightful as it is, these are spinners quota, right? In Indian test is for spinners. That's why we give overseas away.
There is one extra Akshar Patel.
As it is, this guy has now come in taking 40-50 wickets unnecessarily. Now, so all of this is challenging for Ashwin. That is the problem we have with all these guys coming and randomly starting taking wickets.
No, I completely disagree. I absolutely strongly disagree with Ashoka on this. The really important thing is that when someone like Bumrah gets to 7 or 8 wickets on these wickets, in these pitches, in these Indian conditions, every effort should be made to make sure that they get to 10. Because that 20 years from now, when some other Namuna is sitting in some podcast like this, they are going to look at Bumrah's record and say, "What? Only 1 or 2 10-wicket hauls, and not very good bowler."
So we have been reduced to Namunas.
I have a far more pressing agenda, which is Ashwin overtaking Kumble, which I don't think now it's a very tough thing now.
I mean, there was a time when people said Ashwin can challenge Vaughan and Murli and all. I think that is gone, right? That thing has gone.
Now even this Kumble is gone. I don't think he has 160 wickets. Means he has to have like crazy that Vaughan 2005 year where he took 96 wickets. Ashwin has to have 2 such years now.
Why not?
I mean, Ashwin could play much longer than Kumble though. So you never know.
Yeah, he could, but his returns will always be like this. I mean, he will now have to share his wickets among like 4 other bowlers who are capable of taking wickets in every condition. So that is now life for Ashwin.
Talking of the man of the match, Ashoka, you were there. And the kind of praise that this innings from the first innings from Shreyas Iyer is getting is quite, talk us about it. I mean, Wasim Jafar compared it to Smith's innings in Pune in 2017.
I would disagree. I have seen the Smith innings in Pune, but not live, but on TV. And I saw the Shreyas innings. See, the point is that Smith's 90 came against India, where you get one bad ball possibly every 15 or 20 overs. That's what you're getting. And here you got 2 bad balls every over when Jai Vikrama came to bowl. Embuldeniya bowled 1 bad ball every over. The third option was Dhananjaya, who's not even a frontline bowler. So taking risks is actually not that costly to the batsman, because you can sit back and you can expect a half tracker or a full toss kind of a ball that to come your way. And credit to Shreyas. I mean, I'm not devaluing his 19 anyway. I'm saying he played really well. Just that Smith innings in Pune was a completely different beast altogether. This, I don't think, was that. Maybe if you want to compare Smith's 90, there is a fair argument to be made that the next innings, the 4th innings where Dimuth Karunaratne hit 100, that may be one of the very, very good innings that was played, because that against the opposition, against Ashwin, Jadeja, Bumrah in that form, Aksar, Shami, maybe that 100 is something that we can say is excellent 100.
No, on the Shreyas innings, I think, Steven Smith is a stretch. I think it was a terrific innings, there's no doubt. I'm going to kind of surprise KD here by bringing down a Rohit classic here. The innings, that's actually, the innings that it reminded me more of is Rohit's 160 at Chennai against England, which was on a tough wicket where he scored 80 runs in the first session, if I'm not wrong, and so on. So basically, it was a very difficult wicket. Therefore, the value of those runs were immense. But it also came against an attack which was leaking, just bowling way too many loose balls. And both of them were really good enough to pounce on each of those sort of loose balls. Rohit probably played more of a percentage game, whereas Shreyas kind of really attacked all the bad balls. And of course, he was playing with the tail, whereas Rohit opened the batting and so on. So there's that difference. But in terms of the rhythm of the innings, the way he went about the innings, actually, it reminded me a little bit of Rohit's innings against England in Chennai, on an equally tricky wicket as well. Once you see, I don't want to take anything away from what Shreyas did, right? I mean, it was he did everything that he was supposed to do. He took chances, and all of them came off, and he was good enough, right? All of them were clean hits; they were not miss hits. So that's the other thing about these guys. This generation of Indian Indian batsmen who play spin well. Is that they do the conventional sort of part of playing spin well, which is they go forward and go back and play strokes of both feet equally well. But when they want to attack, the consistency with which they can clear the boundary and is just is very unique to this generation. I don't think the previous generations had that advantage because they simply did not practice hitting as much as these guys do, and that also helped him. So it was a terrific innings, but I don't think I would compare it with Smith in the sense that the threat from the bowling was simply not the same.
I won't agree with the previous generations not being. I mean, we've seen Sidhu. We've seen the way Azhar can murder spin. I mean, I think they used to...
No, but they can't clear the boundary as comfortably as often as these guys do.
Why? Sidhu, when he came out, he used to go for the 6. He never used to... There were no half measures there, right? I mean...
Yeah, but first of all, the bats are different. I mean, these guys have much better bats. So there is no doubt that these guys have immense advantage. Plus, these guys practice hitting day in and day out.
Yeah, ideal, of course. It has to come in.
Okay, even if you take a Sidhu, there was only one Sidhu. I'm saying there are like 4 guys in this team who can play. Like you look at Mayank, you look at Pant, you look at Shreyas. They all can clear the boundary with ease. Rohit, of course.
1998, India-Australia. India's lineup read Sidhu, Lakshman, Sachin, Azhar. I'm not even including Dravid in there, even though Dravid, because he never used to go after spinners the way these used to. That was a phenomenal lineup against spin. But anyway,
I don't have anything controversial to say here. I'm just saying that these guys, their ability to clear boundaries it is a product of the age that they play in.
That's true.
I'm equally sure
because
that
also
those
the
guys,
boundaries have been brought in for them, no?
The boundaries.
No, and I'll tell you one more thing. And one more thing I noticed, which I agree with you, is that the range of shots they play. The earlier batsmen, when they used to come out, invariably used to try and hit straight. But Mayank and Rohit and Shreyas, they are totally comfortable going against the spin and hitting over mid-wicket. Like Jayavikrama is getting good turn on that pitch. But Shreyas has no problem coming out, hitting him against the spin to mid-wicket for 6. That is something that is
Karunaratne doesn't play T20 all that much. He's playing reverse sweep, man. I saw at least 7 or 8 reverse sweeps in the second test. That I think is completely, it will be a novelty if one was played in a test match.
Yeah, I think the range has definitely increased vastly. The kind of shots they play, the kind of shots they even go for is in a test match is the kind of things that many of the earlier era batsmen would have probably ventured in ODIs, and even then not too often. So
no, it's not even a comparison. I'm just saying they take the same batsmen that played in the 98 Australia series, and they belong to the current age. They would hit a lot more sixes and a lot more comfortably and a lot bigger sixes. It is purely a sign of the age that they play in. That's about it.
But the point is that go back a generation, okay, and you look at sides which never had a good fast bowling attack, like India, Sri Lanka, sometimes New Zealand and all. And you look at all these English, Australian, West Indian, South African, and actually even Indian, Pakistani, Sri Lankan batsmen, and they used to routinely milk all these medium fast bowlers for runs, because they're not like the top, like Donald, Pollock, that class of fast bowler. They're one or 2 levels below, and they used to routinely score runs. And even like players who are not like the top players like Ponting or somebody, even the players 1 level below that, they used to milk them for runs, because they're used to it. And often you used to see a little bit of green on the pitch, and you used to find that the opposition side has won the toss and elected to bat. And then the commentators would say, oh yeah, but these conditions, against these bowlers, these batsmen are used to it. So it's the same in India. No, you think about the spinners that these guys play in Ranji Trophy, or in the domestic, or you think of all the spinners outside of Jadeja and Ashwin who are not playing for India right now. And there are probably half a dozen left-arm spinners in India who are as good as Embultania or Jayavikrama, at least better than Jayavikrama for sure. So it's not a big deal for them. It's not something unusual for them to face. So they are used to it. It's routine. And the other thing is that they know how good the bowling is, so they can take a lot of chances. And once you get to like 200 or so when India are playing, you can go after the bowling after that, because they've also been told, like, we know from what Ravi Shastri says, that if you have a team which is built for taking 20 wickets, then even if you score 250, that's enough for you to compete. So they're not. The whole way of thinking has changed. No, previously what was the way of thinking? The way of thinking was, the batsman must accumulate, must be risk free. The batsman must put a price on their wicket. And that was all because the bowlers were profligate. The bowlers allowed the opposition batting to charge a very high price for their wicket. So, but now that's not the case. So, also you see with these Sri Lankan bowlers, so one or two of them are not that accurate. I mean, even Embultenia, he's not as accurate as say Akshar Patel. Even though he's a very, very good bowler. He's like Jack Leach is still a very, very good bowler, but he's not as accurate as Jadeja. And I think this is something which Mahesh has pointed out before, which is that the home bowlers on the home pitches, they have that basic adjustment to length and trajectory, which the visiting bowlers don't have. Like, they don't have it down. So that's where the home bowlers have that just a little bit of advantage, because they hit the correct pace just that little bit more quickly than the visiting bowlers. And these are all good players, man. I mean, it's not like you have Jadeja at 7, and so everybody until 7 is a really, really good player. So it's not surprising. I mean, I was surprised by the comparison to Smith and all that was a minefield, and that was Smith making 100 against Ashwin and Jadeja and Shami and company. That was like that was a really chancy innings.
Any innings against India and India has to always get a bit of an edge over an innings by an Indian against opposition, simply because India's bowling in India is just so phenomenal. It's I mean, I'm not saying, there are conditions and pitches where batsmen will score well, but, especially when you have tough pitches, the Indian bowling is to make runs of the Indian bowling is very hard. So that's why Dimuth Karunaratne's innings will perhaps be the best innings of this test match, simply because the quality that he's up against is so high that to do that is, takes a lot. We haven't spoken about Pant at all, who ended up having such a good series, and he continued from Cape Town, which was a magnificent test. Yeah, but Pant in Bangalore must have been some sight.
Yeah, he was mad, man. So we started laughing after a point in time. Like, this guy is completely off the hook. He was playing a different kind of match. And you can see it on the ground with the Sri Lankan fielders, right? Like, they basically gave up. At some point, it was like, okay, the pitch will do something, he will miss it something. Otherwise, there was no chance of this guy getting out. And that's what happened. He skied one after getting 50. Otherwise, they didn't look like they had any clues of getting this guy out. And he was actually making shots which are, I don't know about percentage control and all that. They stacked the entire leg side against the left arm spinner, so that to prevent him from hitting over the mid wicket. This guy just makes room and just hits in the air in the covers where basically there is no one. And at that point in time, Embultenia and Jayavikrama had absolutely no idea what the hell to do with this. They were all smiling and going through the motions. If left another half an hour, I think India would have declared even earlier. This guy would have gotten 150 balls.
Basically, you let Pant lose with the lead, with license to extend the lead, and it's just mayhem. Because as it is, he has a tendency to take chances. Like, once you send him in with your 280 ahead, and you send him in, and especially against spinners, it's just impossible. I mean, I don't think he can resist trying to hit sixes. It's like it's just the real challenge would be for him to say, okay, now you go in and you don't get out for 1 hour. I don't care what you do, just don't get out for 1 hour. That would be much harder for him than to take chances. I mean, he's enormously strong, and he's got a tremendous eye, and he plays in this team where he gets to bat when you're ahead in the game for a lot of time, and he's just an extraordinary player.
And it is worth remembering that he was dropped the second ball, right? When he came to bat, he was dropped, and that went for 4. Had he been caught, right, this would have been like in that South Africa tour where he came and he got out. His shot selection is so poor. He needs to use his judgment better. But he got the man of the series for the same kind of thing that he did.
Shot selection is poor, but he didn't get out. No.
Yeah, so that is what you get with this guy. You get
with Pant. I think the guy is just so much fun to watch, and he's got incredible hand-eye coordination. Just like he's got so much talent that you should just let him play for the sake of cricket. Forget situation. Like if I were Rohit Sharma, I'm like forget winning, forget losing. Just let him play, let him explore the game. He's going to find the edges of the game that other people have not found so far. And he's going to take us. And the other thing that amazes me about Pant is that he's still very young and he's still got so much rough edges in his batting. Like we were talking about Jadeja, right? Like when how he used to club earlier and how he can easily time the same balls for sixes these days compared to what he was 5 years back. And Pant is going to reach that phase where he's going to time the ball a lot better and he's going to keep hitting the ball more consistently than what he's doing. And he's also going to find a way. With experience, he'll also have a shortcut of better risk reward. He will find a way to do these things by taking less risk. And that could happen in the next sort of 5 years. I wonder what kind of a beast he'll be at that time. Like he could be averaging 55 and still be as effective.
And let them play. I mean, as it is, they're not that important. The important guys are the 5 guys who are getting you 20 wickets. They're doing the business. They're really good at it. So let the batsmen do what they want. What difference does it make? They're not that important. Let them have fun. Let them bring the crowds in.
No, I'm completely on board with that. But I'm just saying that not everybody is as equipped to do that as Pant is. I'm just saying whatever room you want to give to batsmen, that's fine. But I'm saying Pant should just be on his own mission of exploring his full potential. That's all I care about.
Especially when your newly promoted captain is a complete flop show. Somebody has to do something.
Flop show. Okay. On a serious note, I did want to talk a little bit about.
What do you mean? The flop show is a completely serious note. Failed 4 times in 4.
He's a compulsive puller. He's setting an example for Pant. He's saying if I can play recklessly, why not you? He's just telling Pant, do as I do. And that's what is yielding the results. Between Pant and Rohit, one of them taking chances is paying off.
Yeah, at least we can forgive. We can forgive the second test where he got caught in slips but whatnot. But the first test where he pulled it straight when it was 58 in 9 overs or 50 plus in 9 overs, that was a terrible shot choice.
But that's the same shot. He's basically, it's like the Monty Panesar thing, right? He's basically gotten out to the same shot so many times that you forget which shot belongs to which test.
You guys know, right, Apna? Every time the test match finishes, like cricket Twitter, like there's some guy, there's always a few people who are like, now can we say that X player is rubbish? Or now can we say that X attack is terrible? Or something like that. It's like there's always the now can we say question, But with Rohit Sharma, we can now definitely say that what is the correct description of Rohit Sharma, the test batsman, and the correct description is very short and very precise and very succinct. And it is not bad for a compulsive hooker. This is the correct description of Rohit Sharma. Not that it makes a difference. I don't care. I don't mind that he's a compulsive hooker. I don't mind that he gets out for 15 or 40 because it makes no difference at all. But, facts are facts.
That's fine. Moving on. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that Karunaratne innings. I was quite fascinated about the way he took on Ashwin particularly. And like in the first test when Ashwin bowled to Trimane, for instance, like that's a classic Ashwin to left-hander dismissal, right? In the first innings, he attacks his pad, gets him out, LBW blue. In the second innings, the guy is so, conscious about his pads and getting the pads out of the way that he edges it to slip in the next innings. That's the absolute classic Ashwin's twin dismissal. Now, and on a wicket which was offering so much assistance to him, not to mention the fourth innings and so on, Ashwin was going for that like right through the innings. And I was quite amazed by the fact that he was actually consistently planting his foot inside the line of the ball and backing his eyes to kind of do the job for him, right? He wasn't going to the pitch of the ball at all. He was deliberately going inside the line of the ball and trying to play with his essentially, backing his eyes to do the job of judging the line properly and playing it through it. And he was doing it right through. So, like Mayank also tried to do that. In fact, it was equally difficult for Mayank to play against Embledania earlier. But he couldn't succeed, for instance. But I was just amazed by the fact that Karunaratne managed it right through his innings.
Yeah, and he was really unfortunate that he got 2 good balls. In fact, 3 good balls in 4 dismissals. Or he could have had a better series as well. I think he could have gotten a lot more runs. He looked the most accomplished, barring that one Angelo innings. He looked the most accomplished of all batters. And that was a terrific innings, is what I also thought.
That brings us to the end of another episode of the 81 All Out podcast. If you enjoy the work we do, please support us via coffee.com. That's ko-fi.com/81allout. You can find the link in the show notes, and it will allow you to either set up a recurring monthly payment or throw in a one-time contribution. Also, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you prefer. It would be great if you could leave a rating and a review so that more people can find us. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts on the work we do. So please send us your feedback.
India at home, Lords goes wide.